What do I, F43, do? Husband, M44, swears he didn't cheat on me.
We've been married 9 happy years. I know this to be true even if he did end up cheating on me last night. My husband Ben doesn't have many friends at all, and lately he's been hanging out with a co-worker named Al who is recently divorced.
I have never had any problems with their relationship, which has generally consisted of at most a couple of drinks and coming home before 12. Our relationship has been, up until now, one of complete trust. I'll stick to just the facts from last night. 10:31 a.m. I'm at home watching Disney Plus followed by bed.
Ben is hanging out with just Al at a dive bar.
1:03 am. They moved the party over to the strip club.
We've never had a discussion about if either of us finds strip clubs disrespectful to the other, so this is gray area. However, staying out this late solo on a Tuesday is not something he's ever done before.
3:04 am. They Uber to Al's house, Ben says, with only the two of them in the vehicle. 4:02 am. I called 20 minutes before this as I was worried, but no answer.
This time there's a pickup, but I don't say hello because I can hear women's voices and immediately am apprehensive and thinking this must be an accidental pickup. There is some distortion, so I can't really hear what the women are saying, but then very clearly an energetic male voice cuts in with, "This dick isn't going to suck itself."
Woman voice again, followed by eventual hang-up on the other end.
His side. Ben maintains that the voice I heard was Al's, who came upstairs with strippers from the club to find Ben where he was hiding out on the rooftop patio sleeping and rope him into joining in on the fun. Al woke Ben up with his loudness, and then Ben noticed I was calling him, so he picked up.
No hello, just kind of held the phone in his hand and didn't say anything because he was drunk, disoriented from waking up, and his buddy was trying to solicit sex, so polite. He thought it was a bad connection and hung up. I think all this sounds like bullshit and have been furiously Googling divorce lawyers since.
But I also wanted to get a sanity check here first before I actually do anything.
I can't ask anybody in my life because my friends and family will probably get as far as him going to the strip club and make a judgment then and there. East Asians. Ben is white and thinks strip clubs are not a big deal. I was so sure at the time, but now in the cold light of day I can't say for certain the voice was Ben's as opposed to Al's, whom I've never actually met. Ben is a huge nerd whose passions include Star Wars and wildlife photography. He doesn't really exude, "come suck this dick," energy, and while he admits he made a lot of bad choices last night, he vehemently maintains he never cheated. Could never cheat, loves me, etc.
He let me go through his phone, but he is a technologist and I wouldn't find anything if he didn't want me to, so I asked if he would be okay if I put a tracking app on his phone and forbid him from seeing Al anymore.
He agreed with no hint of protest, and he hates being ordered around. I'm tired and sad and angry. Should I ask for marriage counseling first?
What's there even to talk about if the issue is whether he cheated on me or not? You did.
No, I didn't. I don't actually want to be his warden the rest of my life.
How does trust recover?
You won't find answers in his phone. Look at his credit cards and bank account for the money transactions of the day in question.
The amount of money spent will give you the answer.
Prostitutes costs money.
I mean, possible he didn't cheat?
Still a massive red flag. Your 40-something husband is partying with strippers until dawn.
Not sure why he thought that would be okay. Can you live with never knowing?
Strippers don't really go home with anyone. Women who have sex for money, however, do. So take that for what it's worth. I'm a happily married man in my 40s and I would never put myself in a situation like that. Most likely he cheated. Emo.
Pursue the divorce. The trust doesn't recover until he tells you the truth. Otherwise he's just a liar.
How do I communicate this better to my wife? 32 male, 28 female. 32 meters, 28 female. My wife's just not getting it.
My wife is just not getting that. After working 24 hours on an ambulance, when I get home I want to rest and decompress.
This morning I thought she was cooking breakfast. She texted me to let her know when I was on the way home.
And when I got home, instead of her cooking breakfast, she put some cinnamon rolls in the oven and told me I was in charge of cooking eggs and walked away.
I don't think she meant it maliciously.
But I feel like she doesn't understand what working for 24 hours with little to no sleep is like.
I've seen 2 dead people since midnight.
One committed suicide and I had to see that and the family breaking down.
My mind is gone.
How do I communicate to her that when I get home I need my time and I don't want to do anything until I decompress? Tell her what you just wrote. What have you already tried telling her in the past?
You pick a time and say it.
Be very clear. You like seeing her but you need time to decompress after what you do all night at work. Be blunt about how ugly your job can get. A lot of people out there really don't understand how gory and horribly an EMT's job can be.
I'd set hard limits as well. Don't cave and jump to make eggs because she says do it. You have to consistently take the time for you.
From now on, when I come home from a big shift, I need to decompress and wind down for XX minutes. Please don't ask or expect me to do anything until that time has passed. I need to transition back into the normal world. Then you can expand on the reasons why and explain to your wife any challenges she makes. Note that I didn't put any responsibility on her to do things for you during this period. It would be nice, but those things are up to her. If that doesn't work, your wife lacks empathy or emotional intelligence and you have bigger issues.
When I worked high stress, we had an agreement I'd have a brew and sit on the bed for about 20 minutes staring at the ceiling in silence when I got in. Then I was fully invested again and listening to her work problems, after resetting my brain. As a fire EMT wife, I 100% understand what you're saying. When we first started dating, my husband explained to me what the job is like. I work in an ICU, so I can understand the type of stuff he's seeing. I think it comes down to open communication. I would sit her down and just say that you work 24 hours and be honest about the type of things you see and that those kind of things are heavy to deal with. And that after work you need a bit of a breather before starting the rest of your day. IDK if you're a nap guy, cause my husband refuses to nap after a straight 24 all-nighter. Or maybe if you are able to go on a walk when you get home to get some fresh air or just hang out in the car for a little. Your wife doesn't seem to understand that you're tired. Unsure if she works or not. Surely common sense would know that someone who's just finished a 24-hour shift is tired and needs to rest. I'd have to say to her, I can't watch the oven or cook. I've just finished a 24-hour shift and I'm absolutely exhausted. Coworker F43 might be crushing. Do I mention it to my wife F30? I am happily married and will not step out on my wife.
She is a wonderful person, but has some serious insecurity issues. Body, looks, etc. Which I always tell her is just her brain feeding her lies, and that I love her and how beautiful she is. Recently a relatively new coworker has been giving off some vibes. The kind you sense when you realize somebody either is super friendly, or is into you.
I of course do not share that sentiment, and I'm not even sure I'm not misreading things.
But it's been like 5 times I've gotten that vibe from this person.
Like she goes out of her way to talk to me even when the situation does not call for it. Knowing my wife already struggles with insecurity, do I even mention this to her? I do not interact with this coworker daily, but usually weekly in brief exchanges, and I have no intention or desire to cheat. Is this even worth mentioning to my wife? It just feels kinda scummy to not say anything at all, but also I could just be totally fucking wrong about it all. What does Reddit think? I wouldn't mention it initially, but every time this coworker comes up to you, redirect the discussion to work, or if it's personal keep bringing up your wife.
If this person says, "What's your favorite music?" your answer would be, "I love Less Than X artist, my wife and I just saw them in concert recently and they were amazing." If they ask what your favorite restaurant is, "My wife and I recently went on a date night to restaurant Z and it was so good."
Highly recommend.
Don't say shit, and be prepared to shut the coworker down the first time she makes a pass at you.
Know and limit your interaction with that person. If you got the vibe 5 times, that's already 4 too many. No.
Just creating more insecurities.
Anytime this coworker talks to you, make sure you talk about your wife. She'll get the hint eventually, lol. I think as long as you can nip the situation in the bud, you don't need to worry your wife with this.
Have you been blunt with the coworker about not wanting to be interrupted unless it's work-related?
Or been extremely vocal about how awesome your wife is and no other woman can compare? If your wife were more secure, I'd say to tell her.
In this case, however, since you don't work closely with this coworker, and you don't communicate outside of work issues, and you have no desire to cheat, I'd say this isn't worth making your wife feel worried, especially not over some vibe.
Keep quiet about it and keep your coworker at a distance.
If she tries to have a personal conversation with you, find a way to mention your wife in a positive manner.
X.
Oh, my wife and I love to play pickleball.
She's super good at it.
If your coworker blatantly asks you out or hits on you, then it's time to tell your wife and let her know what actions you're taking to limit your contact with the coworker. How can I, 27 male, be less disgusting to my wife, 29 female?
I do a lot of work on our cars. I have 2, she has 1. And my tools have become rusty and dirty over the years. I used to never wear gloves when I work on cars. Truthfully, it felt manly to just raw dog it when I was younger. But when I got with my wife 10 years ago, who is a bit of a clean freak, I've gotten to wearing rubber gloves whenever I do anything. I ran out of gloves about a month ago and haven't gotten to replacing them. Today, I replaced the shock assemblies on my daily. It also rained briefly while I was working on them. I was dirty as hell. My hands are covered and look like they've been charred.
My wife stepped out to help me clean up my tools and went off on me about how disgusting my tools look, compared them to our friends' tools, how they're so much cleaner than mine, and that basically she can't stand the idea of intimacy when she sees me working on our cars like this.
My knee-jerk reaction was to just get pissed, but I stopped myself and got a gallon of that pumice hand cleaner shit. I always use it. I was running low. I've told my wife that I am extremely thorough when it comes to cleanup, but she says that she can't get over the image of my disgusting hands. My thoughts are that our friends do not do as much handy work as I do. Not only do I work on cars, but I remodel homes. I'm extremely comfortable in dirty situations, but I always clean myself thoroughly, not just for her sake but for mine. I guess I'm asking for advice on how to continue being as handy as I am without disgusting my wife.
There have been instances where even when my hands aren't black as night, she just recoils at the mere sight of my tools. Thanks for reading.
Update.
Thank you all again for your words.
It really helped me figure out why I was so upset. There was a nagging in my head that I couldn't get rid of until I realized that I felt disproportionately disrespected by being compared to our friends' husbands. We had a talk before my shift today. It actually made me an hour late, but who fucking cares? She's the light of my life. I should also say that there are a lot of stressors in our life currently.
We had our first child 10 weeks ago. The house I'm flipping has been postponed an ungodly amount of times. Our savings, my full-time job only allowed her to be at home for 4 months while I continue working, and we have 4 dogs in our house, the latest of which is an unsocialized, loud GSD that I'm watching while my parents settle their divorce, seriously counting the days until she's gone. This morning, she came running out to me because 2 of the dogs, GSD and one of ours, had gotten into a fight and blood was everywhere.
I broke it up and cleaned up promptly. I told her that I will strive to be a much cleaner person when I'm working with this stuff, but that I had a problem with how she compared me and how rudely she brought up this problem today. I don't have a problem with the content, just the delivery, are my words verbatim. She brought up everything above, and that she's been stressed out of her mind, especially this morning with a crying baby and raging dogs. I told her that I empathize with her, but even while I experience the same stressors, even after she blatantly compared me to our friends, I could not fathom being as disrespectful to her as she did me. We talked more about concrete, long-term and short-term solutions. She apologized for acting so rudely and we promised to have a team mentality. Again, I want to thank everyone here for your words. This has helped us tremendously. Drive that dog back to one of your parents immediately. Don't let it back in the house with your baby. Holy shit, that edit. I cannot imagine the stress. And your wife is home with it full time. Please work with her to get rid of some of these stressors. I'm glad you worked it up, but your update is concerning. If the GSD is getting in fights and you have a baby around, it's time for your parents to find another solution. I ran out of gloves about a month ago and haven't gotten to replacing them. This is your mistake. Just use gloves. You already have the answers. Don't run out. Keep a backstock. You really buried the lead by not mentioning your wife is 10 weeks PP in your original post. Just diligently wear gloves, I guess. Just try to see from her perspective, what does she feels if she got fingered by black nails from oil residue.